Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
All Americans were rightly sickened and revolted by the brutal death of George Floyd. He will not have died in vain. I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters. But in recent days, our nation has been gripped by professional anarchists, violent mobs, arsonists, looters, criminals, rioters, Antifa, and others.
Trump yesterday, Rose Garden, surreal. Maybe the most surreal thing I have seen in, I couldn't even tell you. If you saw the pictures of yesterday, Trump's holding a press conference, Rose Garden, kind of comes down quickly. He's going to speak. He spoke in the day to the people out there that are the governors of the states, pissed off and angry about the way they restarted, didn't restart, called them weak, said they need to dominate. Several governors, including, I will say this, I've talked to a few Republican governors who've said, I don't, there's just no words. So Trump, you're watching this thing come down. I'm painting a picture if you didn't see it. So you've got the social distancing journalists that are all out there, and they're in the Rose Garden, and they're, six feet apart. Then you've got a flurry of activity. You've got military police. You've got the D.C. police. You've got Secret Service. You have some other military people. You have military vehicles all kind of on the lawn. And you've got protesters who've been out there. If you've ever been to D.C., ever, and you go to the White House, there's always somebody protesting 24/7. Somebody's pissed about something. It doesn't matter who's president. They're out there with the banner, this, that, and the other. If you've ever been anywhere, I remember Obama would come out to Palm Springs, and I would say it was probably 500 or 1,000 yards from my house is a place where he would meet with world leaders. Xi, when Xi came out here, they met. And the roadblocks everywhere and the protesters everywhere, the chaos and craziness. Doesn't matter. But because of what took place with George Floyd, this was extra spicy, right? I want you guys to understand, it was extra. It wasn't regular spicy. It was extra like, woo, that's spicy. So you got all these protesters. They've been out there the night before. Trump in the bunker, supposedly. And I don't think Trump said, I want to go to the bunker. I think they said, sir, it might be time for you to go down to the bunker because these people are getting close. And it doesn't matter who the president is. I have news for you. You can like him or hate him, love him, despise him. The Secret Service job is to protect the president, no matter who he or she is. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They don't play around. They don't leave it to chance. And I think he heard some of that. And he was a little upset. So as we paint this picture, all of this stuff is going on. He comes out, delivers his speech, and we'll touch on the speech about, you guys better do this or else I'm militarizing. But then he has them move the protesters. He has them move the protesters so he can take a photo op at a church across the street that was burned and looted. And I'll be completely honest with you, it was uncomfortable to watch. It was uncomfortable to see. Even the deacons, I'm sorry, that was, and the Bible, they hand him the Bible, and I don't even know what, he's holding it up. It was a prop. And I just sit there and I thought to myself, look, I don't want to get into church, not the church, the whole 9 yards. She talked about the visit itself.
I was sitting watching the news with my mother when I saw what everyone else saw.
Yeah, him there, right? And people say, well, I can't believe that, this church and this lady's coming out, the deacons talking about how all of this stuff, it just shows you, look, they never said Trump wasn't invited to said church.
The presidents are welcome as citizens of this country to pray alongside fellow citizens, to kneel before God in humility and to rededicate themselves to the task to which they've been elected.
Yeah, great. I have no problem with any of that stuff. You didn't need to do the photo op yesterday. Could have done it earlier in the day. She talked about that. The moving the protesters the way you did, sorry. I felt it was a bit much. I did. There was a lot of this yesterday, and if you care about the Secret Service and the police, this was unnecessary. Putting yourself in a situation where there's risk and unnecessary risk was a bit much for me. Trump is going to do what Trump does. A lot of that's to get a rankle and to piss people off. He does that. Boom. That's him. But the thought process of what went through his mind yesterday, at some point in time, I would have said, let's just have this indoors. This is what I'm going to say. But that's not Trump. And I think people should know that. But it was so surreal to watch this thing yesterday break down in the middle of the day. And I'm telling you guys, the thought of him being made fun of in the bunker, even though I don't think he said, I want to go to the bunker. I think he just said, I'm just going to, they said, sir, we need to move you down to the bunker. Even with that, he wanted to show yesterday, this is who I am. And it was, again. And then he goes on before that to even talk about, if you don't do the National Guard, if you don't do this, if you don't do some of these things, we're going to. Sorry. A lot of this stuff to me, I'm for law and order. You let the states handle it. If they have a problem, they'll come to you. If they've got something, and some of this is on the police forces. I was talking to James Galliano from CNN yesterday. He and I were chatting. He says, it's the Ferguson effect. And the Ferguson effect is this. Cops don't want to be seen as the bad guys anymore, especially when the light's on them. So they're more willing and apt to allow certain things to happen in hopes and prayers that eventually people run out of steam and go home. So they don't have to look like, quote unquote, the bad guys. And I think you're seeing that. I think what you're seeing in a lot of places is, and people aren't, the leaders aren't coming out and saying it like they used to, right? Because we saw with Freddie Gray. Remember with Freddie Gray, what did they tell the police chief? You just back off, let them do their things, let them be angry, let them burn stuff, and just let it go. And I think what we've seen is understanding people are pissed, understanding people are angry, and damn skeepy, they have every right to be. But the reality is, while all this is happening, you've also got to have a presence, because as they continue to loot and to break things and to light things on fire, you're doing a disservice to the people whose stores you should be protecting, whose livelihoods you should be protecting. And it just feels like maybe, just maybe, a little bit more presence doesn't mean you have to rush in there and start cracking heads, but a little bit more presence in certain areas, we wouldn't be in this situation. We wouldn't be. And this is a perfect storm. We've got COVID-19. We've had people in all, for months. We've got all of this stuff going on. There's a perfect storm of anxiety. And then you top it off with what took place last Monday with the officer and George Floyd. But the thought of immobilizing our military, uncomfortable to me. And yeah, I'm a little upset by the way that some forces around the country have just stood back and allowed certain things to happen. You don't have to rush in and crack heads. At the same time, maybe, just maybe, a little bit more show of force. And we'll see what takes place. Because at some point in time, you're going to have to deal with it. At some point in time. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hope you had a good day. Again, surreal yesterday. So bizarre. Just absolutely. I'm watching this thing and I'm like, really? And I knew Trump was going to come out. I'm watching. I'm like, he's going to come out and he's going to be pissed off and he's going to say something because he's mad because people are making fun of him. And he listens to that stuff way too much. He does. And I'm going to get blowback. I got blowback from him yesterday talking about it. You just don't understand. Trump should have. Somebody says to me yesterday, you don't even understand. You're not even fit to carry his briefcase. I'm like, that's fine. Never said I was. He goes, you're just not. He goes, he should have done this 2 weeks ago. I'm like, really? 2 weeks ago? So why should he have done this 2 weeks ago? because we wouldn't have this situation. So he should have known that a white officer was going to kill somebody last Monday, so he should have put in place the mobilization of our military? Or whenever it happened. That's all you need to know. You're not even paying attention. Stop drinking the Kool-Aid on both sides. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, Twitter. Raycon's best earbuds around. Tell you what, I love my earbuds, and everybody always steals them. I'm always having to say, Jack stole my earbuds. Jack stole. They're awesome. They really are. And if you're at home, and so many people are at home, and you're working at home, and you got the kids, and there's noise, and this is just a different environment, and you're trying to listen to what people are saying, you got the dangling stems and the wires, and it's just, get rid of those. Get the E25s from Raycons. They're the best earbuds around. 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, a better sound quality and design, and the noise isolating fit. And it is a fit that just, it goes in your ear and you don't notice it. That's what I love. It's just so comfortable. You don't even know it's there. And you're only going to hear what you hear, right? So you don't have to worry about the screaming going on behind because you're focusing on your video conference call or you're making a call to your boss or whatever it is. That's the beauty of these. Normally, you'd spend about $200 for something like these. These start well under $100, and I'm going to save you more. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. You'll save 15% right there. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
Music labels, from Beyonce and John Legend's Columbia Records to music companies Live Nation, Spotify, and more, observing Blackout Tuesday today, a day to pause music and reflect on the racial tension and protests gripping the nation. Lady Gaga and Kendrick Lamar's label Interscope has said it will not release music this week, and many labels are urging people to donate and volunteer. Given that, though, there remains a little bit of confusion over what Blackout Tuesday really means and what people are being asked to do.
Yeah, it's confusing. People are getting involved. Look, we have to have a conversation in this country, and we can't be afraid. It's going to be uncomfortable, but to get to the places in life you want to go, right? Let's say you want to lose weight. You know you're overweight. You don't want to look in the mirror. You realize you got a bit of a belly. You have to have an uncomfortable conversation with yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. Alcoholism, drug. There's an uncomfortable conversation that has to be had. Race and race relations in this country, there has to be uncomfortable conversations. And both sides are going to be uncomfortable. Cannot just demonize one side. Because when you come out and you start, because see, the thing is, when you try to face some uncomfortable situations, knowing at the other end, if you do the things that are necessary, you're going to be better for it. You're trying to find a solution. All too often I find in situations like this, because politics are so involved. There's no politics in whether or not you want to lose weight, right? Like, I got to lose weight. It's healthy for me. It's good for me. I got the solution. The problem is, too often when we talk about certain things that it's a completely uncomfortable situation, politics is a part of it. And because of that, there are powers that be on both sides of the issue who enjoy the status quo because it helps them further whatever cause they have. That's the reality. We have to have a real conversation in this country. But that conversation isn't with certain leaders. That conversation is with people in your neighborhood, with people in the street, with people you work with, people at your church. Those are the conversations that have to happen on an individual basis. And then as a collective, things get better. But it's you know, these hashtags and all that. It means it's crap, right? What's it mean? Hashtag, woo. Like today, there's a hashtag Wendy's canceled because Wendy's CEO gave $400,000 to Trump's reelection campaign. Hashtag cancel Wendy's. I'm like, why do I have to cancel Wendy's? I like Wendy's, right? I don't, but their CEO, I don't care what their CEO did. I've always had this question for people on both extremes, both sides. What is your goal in life? Is your goal to live in a world where there is no differing opinion? Because I'm starting to think and believe that so many people want that there is no differing opinion, that there is no other way, that it's your way or the highway, and I will surround myself, and eventually I would like to live in that. And that's what we're seeing already in many cases with the way that we consume news, the way that we do so many different things, is we want this. And this is what it is. I want it like I want it. Is it McDonald's? You say you can have it your way or whatever? I don't know. I don't have all the answers. Neither side has all the answers. Both sides have done some good things. Both sides have done some horrible things. Both sides have revisionist history. I like diversity, but I like it organically. It's okay to have differing opinions because your opinion may not be right. My opinion may not be right. But it's weird to watch that we have to cancel this or we have to do that or we can't have this conversation and you have to. It's when the problem for so many of us, and I've been guilty of it in the past, and I probably will be in the future too, because I'm a human being, is too often we hear but we don't listen. And hearing is the physical act. There's a noise, there's a sound, it's registering in my ears, it's going to my brain. I understood that was a sound, but then it ends there. I don't identify it, don't take it in. Listening is doing all of that, then actually taking it to heart, hearing what that person said and listening to what that person said, understanding that. 323-538-2423, at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. Let's not cancel Wendy's. They have square hamburgers. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's not right what y'all doing. I came from the ghetto too. Same as all of you did. Y'all need to listen. But you know y'all, you call it black power. You mad at the white man. Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it. Could you understand that? Can't y'all see it? I'm trying to make it.
That is an African-American man, and they destroyed his business. That's the reality of this insanity that's going on out there. Protesting is great. Let your voice be heard. The rioting, the looting, the chaos, the craziness, that's the reality. He's trying to make it. You heard him there. I came from the same place you came from. Why? Why my business? Why are you doing it? You've got a younger generation who's pissed off and angry, who many of them who've been extremely well educated, right? In particular, a lot of suburbanite white kids who think that we need to tear the system down because the system's broke. It's inherently evil and bad. And if we break the system and we turn it into something more like what we see in places like China, the equality will reign free because it's all bad and evil. And it's not. And they don't care. They don't care. They're fine with busting crap up. They're fine with this because it doesn't matter to them. This is the same kid who screams and yells at you all the time and tells you capitalism's evil, capitalism's bad, capitalism's awful, all these things are horrible. All the while, they're Snapchatting on their iPhone as if some sort of magical government fairy gave them the damn phone. They're eating they're having the $13 lattes and their avocado toast, but they can't move out of mom and dad's house, but they're going to grab a brick and throw it through a window because this is what it's all about. That's a bunch of crap.
We don't care about no curfew. We don't care about none of that. We don't care what they have to say. They kill us, nothing's done. People show up with AR-15s, begging for a haircut, begging for stores to be open. But when we come out here and protest because a white man put his knee down on a black man and killed him in cold blood, and we come out here to protest that, this is what happens. We're not going nowhere. We here for as long as we can. We not running. We done. Tired of running.
Okay, protest. But if you think protesting is burning down your neighborhood, burning down somebody else's neighborhood, destroying people's livelihoods, that somehow that's the conversation you want to have, you're missing it. You're missing it. I look at somebody like Bernie, right? I'm not going to blame, for all the talk about Trump and his rhetoric. Bernie screams a revolution. Show me a revolution where there wasn't insanity and violence. Show me a revolution that by the way, that the person replaced whoever they were replacing and everything went great. It's nuts. Burning down buildings. People are dying. The conversation's been completely lost about George Floyd and having this conversation that we should be having in this country because it happens once or twice a year. Something like this happens and we don't have the conversation because within, hours or days, something changes. Then we get chaos and on to something else. There's a way to do it that's right. There's conversations to be had. It will be uncomfortable. But the reality is, a lot of what you're seeing out there on the television is chaos and craziness. But a majority of what you're not seeing is peaceful protests. People getting together, exercising their First Amendment right, trying to start a conversation, being frustrated and upset. But much like everything else, if it bleeds, it leads. So it's more interesting to watch a cop car burn than watch a police officer and a young African-American kid hug and have a conversation. Because while that's nice, that's emotional. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us, text the program as well. All of that being said, there's still something going on. There's a pandemic. We forgot all about that. Talk about something, because if you watch any of these, CNN's a perfect example of panic porn craziness. So for, I want to say 2 months, they've had up their clock, their counter of the coronavirus, right? How many people have it? That thing is virtually gone, minus once or twice during an hour when they'll bring somebody on just to remind people that there's still the coronavirus lingering out there, that there's still this thing that's going on out there that people should be paying attention to. But then it's back to whatever's happening in the new shiny object. But there is still the coronavirus. There is still the economy that is flagging as we speak. And they're still trying to figure out how exactly we are going to, at least at this moment, attack this thing and live with it while they search for a vaccine.
More than 10 times the number of Israelis were infected by the coronavirus than previously known. Those are the eye-opening results of the first antibody survey conducted by Israel's National Center for Disease Control. Over 200,000 Israelis, between 2 and 3% of the population, got COVID-19, while just 17,000 cases were officially confirmed. The results indicate that the virus spreads even faster than we thought, that the number of people who show no symptoms is significantly higher, and that the mortality rate may be much lower.
Yeah, much lower. So when you, and that's what a lot of people have been saying. The reality is we know who this thing affects the most. We know who it adversely affects the most. And when you start peeling away the layers, there is a certain group of people that this thing is potentially deadly and will be deadly for some. Older people, people who are incapacitated. So nursing homes and assisted living facilities. When you say assisted living facilities, everybody always thinks it's a nursing home. It's not. Sometimes you've got people that are in there because they were in a car accident and they're still in their 20s or 30s, but they will never function again like that. And those are places where those people are susceptible. They don't move. Chances are they've got other underlying conditions. And so anything like this is deadly to them. But for the average person, 65 and under, if you're in pretty good health, you're going to be fine. And the numbers, I think, when all of this is said and done, are going to show that not as deadly, which is great. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to know this thing's not as deadly. It's the weirdness of the country, and again, how we break things up, right? It's like some people want it to be more deadly because it could show that all of the stuff that we went through was totally worth it. That's the political side of it. Others want this to be less deadly, not because they care if it's less deadly, but because they want to say, you guys screwed up and you made us go indoors and it was nothing more than something that was like the flu. We want it to be less deadly. I would think that's a good thing. What's done is done. If we find out at the end of the day that it was a little bit more deadly than the flu, but not anywhere near what some people thought, then that's a good thing. And who cares about the politics of it all? But because politics is in everything we do, 24/7, nonstop, it frustrates people. And I get it. Do I think I've never said it was a hoax. It's like you have to be on one side. It's a hoax. COVID-19 is a hoax, or it's the deadliest thing in the world. No, somewhere in the middle, like everything, lies the actual truth. Truth is, it spreads bigger than the flu. Probably not too dissimilar in the death rates of the flu, but the speed at which it spreads is tremendous. And it also has a very adverse effect on people who catch it because we don't have a therapeutic. Dare I say, if we had a therapeutic for this, meaning not so much a vaccine, but a way to treat it. Right? So, you know, the way that we treat certain things, then, so the flu, they've got treatments for the flu. They've also got a vaccine, but they've got treatment. So if you catch it, there is a way to mitigate the damage it was done. We don't have that. If we have that, and I think at some point in time we'll probably get to the point where we have a few of those, just like we do with the flu, I think this thing will be in line with the flu. And even if it's endemic, which means it's here always, we'll learn to live with it and we'll move on with it, and it'll be exactly what it is. Here, but nothing to be overly worried about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So funny. Somebody just tweeted in at me and said, I don't think I can listen to your show anymore because you won't step away from Wendy's. So that shows me that you, much like Trump, is a fascist. How do you live with yourself? Right? I'm curious. Not that because you may be a wonderful man or woman. I don't know. But the thought of, because I'll still eat at Wendy's, which is not like I eat there 24/7. Right? I eat there maybe once a month where I'm like, man, I could sure go for a square hamburger. But the fact that you would say, I can't listen to you because you won't cancel Wendy's shows me that you are as bad as the people that you say you profess to dislike. It's just the same on either sides of extremism. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Gabby Insurance, saving you money, saved me well over $1,000. I was stoked. So what Gabby is, you go to Gabby.com, GABI.com/Benson, and it's free to use. So I put my information in there for my homeowner's insurance and car insurance. If you ever shop for that stuff, it's a pain in the butt. So what they're going to give you is like-to-like comparisons on the exact same coverage that you have. So apples-to-apples comparison, all of the, Nationwide, Travelers, Progressive, all they're going to give you like-to-like. So maybe for us, our homeowner's insurance was perfect. My car insurance was a nightmare. And lo and behold, end up saving well over $1,000. I'll take that every day of the week. You can do the same thing. It's free to use. They're never going to sell your information. Ever. No annoying spam or robocalls. You go to Gabby.com/Benson. Takes 2 minutes, and you'll get those comparisons. Try it today. Again, free to use. Gabby.com/Benson. Gabby.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers.
One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
As brands from Netflix to Disney continue to support the Black Lives Matter movement, Viacom CBS stations went dark Monday evening with the sound of someone's labored breath. BET, MTV, Comedy Central, and more putting up a graphic of the words, "I can't breathe," for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, the amount of time Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck. Chauvin has been charged with murder in Floyd's death. The stations also instructed viewers on how to donate to social justice causes.
Yeah, that was interesting. Conversation. We should have it. Can we do that anymore? I mean, are we capable of that? I think we are. But I think it's a we thing, right? It's not the leaders who, that are out there to proclaim that they're speaking for a group of people. It's on you, man. You go out there and you speak to people, you talk to people, you interact with human beings, and you do it in a way that's real and it's organic. That it's not forced, that it's not a social justice thing, that people are putting things in certain situations so it's a reality TV-like thing. It's just a thing. It takes time, right? I think magically we want to snap our fingers and forget all the bad that's been done in this country, the people that have suffered. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It's going to take time. And I think what we're seeing over the last 30, 40 years is it's changing. It's changing fast. We talked about it yesterday. 200+ million interactions with police officers a year is what people have. And about 1,000 shootings a year. Or deaths at the hands of police officers. Most of them are justified. Some of them aren't. Some of them are horrible. And we focus on those. It's a question to have. Should we, I always go back to my plane crash or shark attack analogy. If planes fell out of the sky every day, well, they don't, but if they did, we probably wouldn't fly anymore. But if they did, we wouldn't talk about it as much as we do. Wouldn't be focused. If every day people went in the ocean and they were eaten by sharks, and it happened all the time, it wouldn't be a news thing. This happened. And it's awful, and we need to discuss it. We need to be real. But everybody seems to think that this is all America. It's not all America is. It's not. I was yesterday. I was watching all these protesters all over the world, and having lived in Europe long enough to know, I know what it's like to live in Europe. And if you think it's bad here, let me tell you something. We remember when the Boston Red Sox, there was accusations of racism in the crowd. Go to an Italian soccer match and listen to the monkey noises. right? Go to Spain in certain games and watch them. I was like a few years ago, I remember they threw a banana down to one of the Barcelona players, and he just picked the banana up and ate it. Why did they throw him? Because that's go to any part of Eastern Europe. My God, it's nuts. We need to address these things, but it's hilarious that everybody wants to point fingers and like America is this awful, evil place, and this is like 24/7, and it's not. And it's frustrating. And we should all be frustrated. Should be mad as hell. We should also take our anger out and at the person who did this, which we're not talking much about, which is Derek Chauvin, the officer. What caused you to do that? Why are you so full of hate? How did you lose your mind? Like everything else, we've stopped talking about George Floyd. We've stopped talking about the innocent and the incident, and we're talking about other things that have very little to do with what took place. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Still not canceling Wendy's. They're a fascist hamburger. He donated money to Trump. What about people who donate money to Bernie? Bernie wants a socialist world. I don't agree with that, but I wouldn't cancel that if Shake Shack or Chipotle gave money to him. I like their food. Now, if a vegetable company did it, we could talk. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Yesterday, Trump, it's bizarre, surreal, like going out there and just having it in the Rose Garden, kind of hastily put together. Then you've got people that have been protesting for days about the death of George Floyd, and it had gotten to the White House a couple days before. And look, it was a much bigger protest that you would normally see at the White House, and it became unruly. And then the night before, apparently Trump went to the bunker. And people made fun of him. And I don't think he made that call. I think Trump was like, whatever. That's the Secret Service at some point in time says, sir, we need to move you to a certain place. Because it makes our life easier. But yesterday, none of that was easy. Moving the protesters so you could have a photo op in front of a church, hold up the Bible as if you that you won a trophy. I felt like he was releasing a book, and this is it. This is the book. I've released a new book. The whole thing yesterday, I wasn't a fan of. Sorry. I can like some of the actions that Trump does. I can, and this is who I am. Everybody wants you to pick a side now. You pick a side. You got to choose a side because you can't be independent in thought. We don't want that anymore. We want you to choose sides. To me, my side is I love my country. I want whoever's president, whoever our leaders are of the country, to be successful. They may fail. Call them out, vote them out. And that's getting tougher because we have a system that's set up in such a way that that's getting tougher and tougher in the way that they set these things up. But I want my leaders to succeed. And at the same time, they will fail at times. They will do things where they absolutely deserve criticism. Yesterday, I thought you put not only peaceful protesters in a position where they were potentially going to be harmed, but you also put your Secret Service, military police, and the D.C. police in a situation where they too could have been in harm's way so you could take a photo op in front of a church. Wasn't a fan of it. Wasn't a fan. Not a fan, and continued not to be a fan of stuff like that. There was no need. You could have done it in the morning, could have done it today, could have done it at another time if it was that important. But it was about certain situations that you want to do to appeal to your base. And we live in a world where Biden's on TV 24/7 now, trying to get as much time as he possibly can because he's trying to appeal to the base of voters out there that he needs to help him win in November. I get that. Just wasn't a fan yesterday of that. Sorry. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You could text the program as well. All of that being said, the protests were still going on. Yesterday, George Floyd's brother and family went to the memorial site, and it was emotional, but he had a lot to say. And some of it, and we see this when you see a lot of these protesters and chaos and craziness going on. Sometimes it's a family whose voice helps slow down some of the chaos.
So if I'm not over here wilding out, if I'm not over here blowing up stuff, if I'm not over here messing up my community, come on. Then what are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? Y'all doing nothing, because that's not going to bring my brother back at all. It may feel good for the moment, just like when you drink, but when it comes down, you're going to wonder what you did.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I just remember in 92 and the riots in Los Angeles. Rodney King finally came out, can't we all get along, and did his thing. But the last week or so, you've got a lot of different stuff happening. And you've got the death of George Floyd, subsequent arrest of the officer, the video, of course, which is if picture's worth 1,000 words, what's a video worth? It's worth an infinite amount of words. Him coming out yesterday and the family coming out and the autopsy results, and we'll touch on that in a second. All of those things aside, you've got a lot of other things happening. You have people that are pissed and angry at the way African Americans are being treated. In some cases, absolutely right. In other cases, it's a narrative. But the reality is it's a situation that we need to talk about, race in this country. And we can't do that because we're too busy trying to force the other side, if you will, which is stupid because we're all Americans, but we're trying to force the other side to see it from our point of view, but know that our point of view is the right point of view. There's no right or wrong here. If you're honest with yourself, yeah, there's white privilege-ish. I call it white benefits, right? I'm not going to lie to you. White privilege, white benefits, it's different. White privilege to me, privilege is royals have privilege. Benefits are, I could drive down the street. Chances are a cop's not going to look twice in my car. I can go into a store. Well, a little different. I'm all tatted up, so but it's become more prevalent now. But there's a certain amount of benefits. Privilege is two different things. Privilege, I can't just go in and steal something. But we need to have these conversations. And the conversation we also need to have that we're not having is class. Class is a conversation we should be having. Because it's the haves and the have-nots, and there's a lot of people in the middle. And there's a lot of people who perceive to be in the middle and who aren't in the middle. But we don't have any of these conversations because it's uncomfortable. And in life, the uncomfortable situation that you put yourself in addressing certain situations, I'm not talking about, asking somebody out and it's totally uncomfortable and wrong. I'm talking about real uncomfortable. You got to lose weight. You have a problem with substances or whatever it is. Those things, you know what the solution is. And you know at the other end of that solution, when you face that uncomfortable thing that you have to face, and when you get there, it's going to be good. It's going to be better. But to go through it, it's ugly. It's nasty. It's hard. We can have those conversations, but understand that it's going to be uncomfortable. Understand that it's going to be tough. understand that feelings are going to get hurt. And the conversation starts with you and I going out, and we're talking to people, and we're living our lives, and it happens in a way that's real. It happens in a way that's absolutely organic and real, not from leaders and subsequent appointed heads of movements that feel that they're the ones who speak for everybody when they don't. It's talking about everyday, average Americans from all walks of life, some poor and white, some rich and black, and everything in between. But until we start to face the fact that it will be uncomfortable, but also face the fact that it's a conversation, it's not personal. And that's so much of what happens nowadays, because identity has become everything, not just politics, but everything. That's why you see the emotion you see in politics. It's because we identify as that. You identify as a Trump supporter, and you identify as a Bernie bro, and you identify as this. And so even if somebody is saying something that juxtapose your position and then may actually have some valid points and may speak to even more truth than what you're bringing, you take it not as, oh, I've learned something. You take it as a personal affront on you and your belief system. So you what? You hunker down and fight. And then you slowly but surely start to close off. You've got to stop. We've all have to stop making things personal. But we can't. For whatever reason. Because we've now wrapped ourselves in the conservative, progressive, the red, the blue, the this, the that, and we've made everything all about our identity. And it's been happening for the last decade or two, where identity is so important. And yet at the same time, we're supposed to not have that identity. We're just supposed to be. Well, which is it? But if you can stop taking things personal, when we're talking about a big issue, then we could start to hammer down into what it is and start listening instead of hearing. I think it's better. But until we can stop taking things personal, I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we're mature enough at this point in time. Trust me, I'm going to get, you know, when I always know when I've angered people or pissed people off, it's the way that I get attacked online or through the text or whatever it is, because I've said something to somebody that has evoked an emotion. I've challenged a belief and or what they deem to be true in their own mind based on the things that they're seeing. And because of that, I've angered them. So their first response is to attack. And they've made it personal. It's not about you. It's about an issue, but you've made it about you. Which is kind of weird. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program as well. Car Shield. I had 2 cars, right? So one of my cars, a bit older. I love it. I take it places. Like sometimes I'll go see Jack when we could, leave and do things without having to say, okay, you can come here, but you got to stay in the hotel and you can't go anywhere and can't swim. Okay, one person can swim. But I like it because I put some miles on it, but there's no electronics that are worth anything. My newer car, it's got the widgets and the watch and the touch and the GPS and the whole 9 yards. One of them, I've got protective coverage from Car Shield because I worry about the transmission and the engine. The other one, I'm worried about the electronics because those things can be expensive. Covered for both. 24/7 roadside assistance with Car Shield. A rental car for freeway cars in the shop. And by the way, you choose that shop, the shop that you want to take it to, and they get them paid directly. It's awesome. You pay a small deductible. So in that rental car, don't dismiss that. That could be huge. Your car's in there for 3 days. You're saving some money, and you don't have to worry about ride sharing. Call 800-CARS-6000. When you do, explain them what you're looking for. They've got plans starting as low as $99 a month. 800-CARS-6000. Mention code Benson, saves you 10%. CarShield.com, CarShield.com as well. Use that code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Black Tuesday is trending. Blackout Tuesday. You're racist. Blackout Tuesday. Music industry leaders vow to pause business on this Tuesday. Insurrection Act, because yesterday, Trump going to invoke the Insurrection Act and another act. And I'm like, this feels like a lot. There's a lot of stuff. Carol Baskins, who allegedly fed her husband to a lion. That's not nice, Chad. The federal judge has given Carol Baskins control of Joe Exotic's old zoo in Oklahoma as part of a ruling in a $1 million trademark dispute. Of course, Joe Exotic, who became the talk of, well, the nation for a while we were in the midst of this coronavirus. It was the only entertainment that was out there. And he's doing 22 years. So the current zoo operators have been told, hey, you've got to leave within 120 days. She is as bad as him, by the way. For those of you who didn't watch any of it, but having been in the industry of exotic animals, for me, it's reptiles. I don't want a big cat. I never wanted a big cat. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to have that's now, I've always been a lizard and big snake guy. And that's my, I've got my property and I've got my little zoo-like area everybody was jokes about. And I've got tortoises and stuff like that, but I've never been a big cat guy. But I have friends and a lot of these same people here in these crazy things you've seen, we all run in circles. And she was as bad as him. She goes out there and rescues. I'm rescuing things, but she's just as awful as he is. And potentially, allegedly, her husband disappeared. Don't know where. Just saying. Head on over to Twitter. Twitter's just angry, as always. It's just always angry. We're canceling Wendy's because their CEO, he gave money to Trump's re-election campaign, so that makes him bad. So you can't do that. So no, don't do that. It's one of the things that's happening out there. Insurrection Act, also, people are looking that up. Carol Baskin's trending there as well. And 70% of people who got a forbearance on their mortgage, according to a new study, did not need the forbearance. So they kicked it down the road for whatever reason. And different banks and different mortgage holders are doing it differently. Some, you have to make a balloon payment. So for the 3 months you missed, it's come due now. Others, they just tacked it on to the back. But according to the new study, 70% of people who got a forbearance on their mortgage, we're not talking about rent, we're talking about people who own homes, did not need the help, took it anyways. Maybe some of it was, I can potentially see us needing it. And maybe some of it was just, oh, well, if we have a chance not to pay our mortgage right now. But what kind of effect does that have? Especially if the mortgage has come due and you don't have that 3 months or so that you have to make up. What's that look like? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us and text the program as well. Got an interesting poll question. We'll touch on that straight ahead. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Trump yesterday at the Rose Garden, he says, I beg your pardon, I never promised you a rose garden. Whoa! Poll question today about that. Are you for or against Trump using military to stop the rioters and looters in response to the killing of George Floyd? 33% say they're against it, 46% say they're for it, and 21% say, depends on how bad it gets. In certain areas, I could understand that. If it got that bad and the government asked, the state and local officials say, we need somebody that's not the National Guard, right? The guy that works at Hertz isn't doing it on his weekend. Chad, it's not very nice. I'm throwing it out there. How do you feel about that? What's your take on it? To me, the states have to deal with this. It's a local thing. While there's a national conversation that needs to be had, each state has to deal with it. But it also starts first and foremost with the law enforcement there. Whether you call it the Ferguson effect, where officers are standing back and letting things happen because they're worried about the image. But you've promised to serve and protect and uphold the citizens, and that includes people who are watching their businesses get destroyed. So we need to talk about that. Like you here in Scottsdale in Arizona, police stayed way back. And Sunday night and over the weekend, they allowed them to do all kinds of stuff that they should not have allowed them to do. Sorry. Be pissed. Be angry. I get it. There's a right way and a wrong way. And some people will argue, and maybe it's true, that the economic damage is the only way people respond. And if you look at cancel culture, that's kind of a real thing. We were talking about Wendy's earlier, right? People want to cancel Wendy's because the CEO gave $400,000 to Trump's re-election campaign. And then we're going to cancel Wendy's now. Like if Wendy's went and shot somebody, we're like, oh, we're angry at that and we shouldn't. But Wendy's gave money to a different political organization that we agree with or don't agree with, so we need to be mad at Wendy's and cancel it. And I just can't be bothered either way. It's a square hamburger and I eat it and I move on with my life. I know there are people out there that give to both sides of the aisle because they're like, I'll just placate both because, either give to both or don't give at all. It's the best way to go about doing it. That's the way I always look. You go look at Wall Street and see what they give. They don't care they could care less what side of the aisle you're on. What they want is you to leave them alone. So they'll play both sides. Hillary will come out and say, Wall Street's the worst. These people are bad. And at the same time, she'll take $250,000 and go give them a speech. It's politics. It is. But rioting and looting, it's not good. And then you've got people like this. This is Seattle councilwoman Tammy Morales. Now, Seattle is progressive, and they've somewhat lost the plot a while ago. Great documentary. If you've not seen it, you can find it on YouTube called Seattle's Dying, and look at their uber progressive ways that they've done stuff. I think it's kind of been the birthplace of places like Antifa, and you've seen the lawlessness and the anarchy when the WTO was there about a decade plus ago. But listen to this.
And I'm extremely thankful that nobody was injured there. But what I don't want to hear is for our constituents to be told to be civil, not to be reactionary, to be told that looting doesn't solve anything. And, it does make me wonder and ask the question why looting bothers people so much more than knowing that across the country, Black men and women are dying every day.
You could be pissed at both. Right? Like, you can be mad and angry and pissed, as you should be, over what happened to George Floyd. And at the same time, you could say, I also don't think arson, rioting, and looting solves the problem. You can be both. And the funny, she talked about reactionary. How many of you have made great decisions being reactionary? I said yesterday, Trump's decision to hold that press conference in the Rose Garden and then go over and take that picture, I think a lot of that was reactionary based on the fact that people were hammering him on social media, and he was pissed over, they were calling him, Bunker Don and stuff like, because they thought he was in the bunker the night before. And I don't care if he was or wasn't, and I don't even think he makes that call. Like at some point in time, the Secret Service override any of him and say, this is what we're doing. And they would do it with any president. But he's reactionary. And you don't do your best work when you're reactionary. It's not like when you're playing a game, a sports game, or you're boxing or whatever it is, and you're reacting to the other person. All right. These are emotions and things that can be thought out over time. And you allow those emotions to cause you to react. It's not a good thing. Nobody does their best work reacting to something. I'm emotional and I've got to react, and I'm going to do so in such a way that you're going to what? Probably make not the best decision. Anybody? When's the last time, like if you've been in a situation where you're pissed at work about something or in a relationship and you want to fire off that email or that text or whatever, and you do it in the heat of a reactionary situation, and then in the morning you wake up and you're like, I shouldn't have done that. But the thought process of, hey, looting's totally cool, right? That's stupid. That's why Seattle is dying right there. Stupid things like that. And Antifa is another question that needs to be answered. Because they are a lot of this. You go and see a lot of this craziness that's happening. You've got suburban college kids, whitey, cracker, in most cases, out there busting up stuff, trying to tear down the system, and it's not a good look. I'm sorry. I don't buy the crap that, they want to tear down the system. They want to destroy the system's evil, the system's bad. Well, the problem is the people who built the system and say, okay, this is the way it should run. Other people came in and go, well, we're going to run the system like this. And it's ugly at times, but not as ugly as they make it out. But they're about the arrest here. We were reading because they had some of the arrest reports from the Scottsdale. It was all like, you could tell they were uber educated, hate capitalism, all the while Snapchatting and tweeting and taking a picture on their iPhone and all of this stuff. And you're just laughing. You're like, you hate the system. George Floyd was just a reason to get out and throw stuff. We could have a protest today about whether or not, Snoopy was the best beagle of all time. And they'll show up and say, here's a brick. You seen the bricks? Like, when's the last time you walked down the street and go, well, there's a brick? They're much more put together than I think people realize. I don't think they're ISIS, but they're an issue.
Antifa started after World War II, but as far as American Antifa, it's been around for a couple of decades. But I was in Antifa back in 2011, and let me tell you, it is far more violent than anything I ever experienced or witnessed. And I think it has to do with the fact that so many college administrators and college campuses that allow Antifa to work under their noses. We don't allow ISIS to recruit on college campuses, and we should not allow Antifa to do that either.
Yeah. And you've got some white supremacists out there that, are out there and posing in it as Antifa members. But the reality is Antifa is much bigger and is much more sympathetic, especially on college campuses. Because the whole guise of it is the man. We need to tear down the man, and it's all fascism, and it's all evil and bad, and it's not equitable, and we need to tear it all down, and we need to what? What's your end goal? Your end goal is to cause chaos and hell. It's not to fix a system. It's not to figure out how do we make the system more equitable. It's not to say that, look, no matter what we do, as long as human beings are involved, certain things are just going to happen. No, it's about chaos and craziness and lunacy. And on college campuses, you've got way too many people, professors, who sympathize, who make it seem like and glorify the struggles of places and only talk about the good and never what comes from a lot of what they're dreaming of because they've never been in the real world. And the thought, yeah, are there some bad actors out there on the right, extremists who are out here taking advantage of stuff and trying to make it look like that Antifa's causing everything? Yeah. But the majority of this that you're seeing as far as the crazy, because you've got, like I said, you got three different things. You've got the real protest and movement, which we've lost the conversation about, which was George Floyd, police brutality, race in this country. That's kind of been pushed to the side because then you have the other conversation of people are trying to do certain things to cause anarchy and chaos, and then other people are trying to do things to make it look like those people who are doing that are doing it even more. It's silly. It is. We are living in a weird time. Could this year get any weirder? I think it can. I'm excited. We got 6 more months of this year, kids. By the end of this year, we could be anywhere. Giant meteor could have come in and won the November election. We may have Biden as president. Trump may still be president. Pulling for giant meteor. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You know what I love, though? I go home at night, open the door, and I'm greeted by my Doodle. My Doodle is my little dog that I've had for going on 3 years now. And when I got Doodle, he was, we thought he was a little younger and found out he was a little bit older. And you could tell, though, after we had him that his hips, something was wrong with his hips. And we thought, well, take him in. We tried everything, and we found out we had fatty tumors on his hips, and his hips were so sore. And he would just lay there, and he'd be grumpy. And so about 2 months ago, we started trying rough greens. They came to me and said, will you try this? And I said, yeah, I got a dog. This would be perfect for us. His name's Doodle. He only eats dry food. It's not dog food. You just sprinkle it on your dog's food, and they love it. Within about 7 to 10 days, I noticed a huge difference. I'm a few months into it, and now when I get home, he jumps, he bounces, he runs around. It's like we have a whole new dog that looks just like Doodle. And because of rough greens, that's it. It's incredible. 25 all-natural vitamins and minerals, 20 digestive enzymes, 15 powerful strains, omega-3, 6, and 9, antioxidants. If you love your dog, and maybe your dog's getting a little bit older, maybe your dog's not as bouncy, maybe they've got some issues, this will change so much about that. It will completely eliminate or reduce your dog's symptoms. And I'm telling you guys right now, it's $14.95 for a 14-day jump start from Rough Greens. Try it for yourself. Your dog is going to love it. And it's going to change your dog. You're going to see a marked difference in the way that your dog acts. And Doodle, he's my furry buddy, and I love him. And to see the way he is now, knowing that I have done the best thing for him, it's awesome. Get yours now. Go to roughgreen.com/chat or call 833-MyDog88. That's RUFFgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog88. Rough Greens. We make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
I don't know if this was intentional, but what's the halfway point between 50 and 114? It's 82. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get back to 82 games exactly, but if there's a point at which the players say, okay, we will be willing to give up a little bit in order to avoid the mess that would come from avoiding the 50-game season that we don't seem to want, this might now be the time for that compromise.
Yeah. Baseball, is it getting closer? I mean, you would like to think so. And here, unlike past where you have the villains when there's going to be a lockout or is it a strike? Are you guys walking out or are we shutting you out? I think to a person that looks at baseball and enjoys the sport and can sympathize with players in certain situations, looks at this and says, what we hear coming from you is the owners are trying to do something. You don't want a salary cap. They're trying to compromise. You want none of the compromising. And you've been vocal about you want all of yours or nothing, even if you only play X amount of games, and which is ridiculous. So I think they're starting to say, okay, look, this could be bad for us long term.
I think is nearing the end game, and it's been a long time coming, and what we were really waiting for was for that moment that was going to cause the sides to say, okay, we got to figure out some place in the middle where we can meet. And I think what happened with Major League Baseball, talking with the MLB Players Association on a conference call about this notion of a shorter season, one that could be as small as 50 games, and reaching back to the March 26th agreement with the Players Association that gives Rob Manfred, the commissioner, the ability to create a schedule.
So hopefully we're getting closer, because it'd be nice, right? Like I like baseball, but I don't love baseball. If you told me I had to eliminate one of the sports, and my choice was soccer, football, college football, ice hockey, basketball, or baseball, baseball is the top of my list. I would. And Jeff Passan and is talking there about, what they're looking to do. But the reality is, at some point in time, you have to start thinking, people are saying that we're jerks. Get out there. Right? Everybody else in the world of sports is trying to get back out on the field. Your season hasn't even started. You're still fighting over money. It's not like you're getting paid nothing. But if we ask you to play half the season, right? Like, you're not going to get paid for 8 hours if you show up for 4. Not the way it works. But you're trying to deal with money first when I think people need something from COVID and now from this. I think it's time to return. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter poll question today: do you agree with Trump on the potential mobilization of the military? About 45% of you say yes. 35% of you say nah. About 20% or so say depends on the situation. Take the poll at Chad Benson Show. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence until the violence has been quelled. If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
Oh, Trump yesterday. Law and order. He's the law and order president. He's going to stop it all. A little frustrating, isn't it? Everything's drama. Politics has become drama. It gets old. We have real issues that we can discuss. We have real issues that we can try to work through. And most importantly, I think if we're going to start discussing, which we should be, and we've had this opportunity numerous occasions, just start going back and seeing where the conversation should have gone. And we've moved forward and we've become better, but along the way, we haven't done the things we should be doing. Just having real conversations. because everybody's trying to win. We should be finding a solution. The problem is this day and age, the solution that we want has to be the solution that we come up with. And by we, I mean whoever's coming up. We can't just come in and go, all right, here's the deal. This is what we're trying to do. This is where we're trying to go. How do we get there? And now the room divvies up into 2 or 3 groups. And even if one group comes up with a solution, the other groups will feel like they lost. Could you imagine when we were trying to go to the moon? If like there was a bunch of groups and like, we're not going to work with them. Well, they've got a way to go to the moon and it works. We think this is real. And they've taken some of your ideas. Well, but they're going to get the credit. So we don't want to go to the moon now. It's stupid. We're going to go to the core of the earth. Go the opposite way. Stupid that would be. That's what we've become. It's tough, man. It is tough out there to just listen to people ramble on about the right way, the wrong way. It's my way or the highway. Trump, every president wants to be law and order, right? You want to support the men and women in uniform. You want people to obey the law. We don't want lawlessness. We've seen people hijack a horrible event and turn it into chaos. And that's not what we need. It's not. We need honest, real discussions about several things in this country. And on top of that yesterday, then you got the president clearing out a bunch of protesters. And not him, but other people. The military police, and it looked like the movie The 300 where they're all together and they clear him out so he could have a photo op in front of a church, which I didn't really like. What is that about? You didn't need to do that. You didn't. But Trump he's the P.T. Barnum of modern society. Everything is a moment of which he can promote, and that was about his base. Because his base attacked me yesterday. Well, don't you support the president? I want the president to succeed. I mean, what do you mean support the president? I've never wanted any of my presidents to fail. And I don't have to agree with everything they do, and I don't have to like them as human beings. I mean, you would rather say, they're good, decent people. I don't know what's in Trump's heart. But I don't want him to fail. But I can also say, I thought yesterday was, was not necessary. You want to come and give a speech on the Rose Garden in that surreal moment, you could have done it inside. I've talked to a couple Republican governors who yesterday, off the record, I won't say, just paraphrasing, the whole phone call with the governors was bizarre. And they're kind of over it. Republicans are having an issue right now, and they're fighting hard because they see what's in front of them come November and what the potential may be. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. And that potential is there's an election. And not only are they worried about the presidency, but they're worried about other things like the Senate. And Biden's out there being very political, being very political-esque, trying to be less is more. But he's starting to realize at this point in time, he does need to get out and start campaigning.
The country is crying out for leadership. Leadership that can unite us. Leadership that brings us together. Leadership that can recognize pain and deep grief of communities that have had a knee on their neck for a long time. Come together. What does come together look like in this day and age?
I mean, what is that? I mean, how many people are really independent? I always say there's an exhaustive majority, and I think that's very real. Extremists on both sides hijack conversations and have agendas that the majority of Americans, black or white, gay or straight, they want to live their life. They have an opportunity. They want to potentially have a family, pay their bills, put some money away, have some fun, enjoy their life in relative peace and quiet. I think that's what most people. Now, politically, they may lean a little right. They may lean a little left. They don't dislike or hate the other side. Their life is not made up of, I only like Republicans or I only like Democrats. Unfortunately, all too often, the people that get to make that noise are the extremists. That's how you get you go to a level of craziness because that's what's going to get you to pay attention. And people are like, oh, what's that? Oh, well, pay attention to that. Even yesterday, the photo shoot. Trump's getting hammered for the photo shoot in front of the church, and he's holding the Bible as if it's his bestseller. But today, Nancy's holding the Bible and doing her little thing, and I'm thinking that you're just as guilty as him. They could have handed both of you guys the Quran. You wouldn't have known the difference. You guys are appealing to it's amazing. It is. I just sit there and I'm like, good God. And all this is going on. And we still have a situation where we're in many parts of this country under some sort of semi-stay-at-home order. Some states are a little bit further along in their reopening. Other states are just now starting to emerge. We still have a decent amount of people who've had the COVID virus, or that's not gone anywhere. We've lost 100,000+ people. But we can't walk and chew gum at the same time. CNN for 2.5 months has had their countdown clock on. Wouldn't you think it's been that long, Producer Phil? About 2.5 months? The countdown clock?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, it's got the number of people in America infected and the worldwide and the deaths worldwide and America worldwide, and it's got the states and all of this stuff. And since Tuesday, that's disappeared. Tuesday of last week. As if that, my uncle joked around. He says, apparently the way we defeated the COVID virus wasn't social distancing. It was social unrest. My local show I do, my on-air partner is very much, let's all wear a mask, let's social distance. And he's watching all of this stuff, and I could just see it in his eyes. The thing that's bugging him the most is people aren't wearing masks. They're too close together. We forgot about that. The stat's still out there. What a crazy year. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, has great benefits for you. Right now, one of the things they're doing is they're lobbying all sides of the aisle, by the way, that we should be making things like our pharmaceuticals here, our medicine here. We shouldn't be dependent on places like China. We need to bring it home. I'm behind that 100%. I think a lot of people are. I don't think a lot of people realize that much of what we see and we have is produced elsewhere, even when it comes to our pharmaceuticals. They're also out there fighting for common sense immigration reform for Medicare and Medicaid. So, Medicare and things like Social Security, that it's still there and solvent. Plus, they offer great benefits. And as we start to emerge from that, you want to take advantage of great benefits with AMAC. Whether it's great deals on travel and hotels, great deals for insurance and everything else, it's right there for you. And it's free to join. It's 1 year. It's free. It's on me. You go to amac.us/Chad, amac.us/Chad. Sign up today. They don't want your credit card or anything like that. It's just a free 1 year membership. amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
More than 10 times the number of Israelis were infected by the coronavirus than previously known. Those are the eye-opening results of the first antibody survey conducted by Israel's National Center for Disease Control. Over 200,000 Israelis, between 2 and 3% of the population, got COVID-19, while just 17,000 cases were officially confirmed. The results indicate that the virus spreads even faster than we thought, that the number of people who show no symptoms is significantly higher, and that the mortality rate may be much lower.
No, what? Lower? It's impossible. It's impossible. I think what a lot of people have been saying is that it's not what a lot of people are saying. It's like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50%. It's not, Chad. It's 10%. It's not 10%. It's maybe 3 or 4 tenths of 1%, which is still double or triple what the flu is. But the flu also has a vaccine, and the flu also has therapeutics that are available to help combat the flu. Right now, it's the immune system that is combating the flu. They've tried a few things in some cases. Hydrochloroquine has worked for some, and others it's been awful. In some cases, remdesivir has worked for some, and they're trying everything while they try to find a therapeutic that works while they hopefully find a vaccine. And that vaccine, even if they do find one, and there's no guarantee they will, doesn't mean it's not going to be like the flu vaccine, where it may work for 50% of the population, and the other 50% who get it, it doesn't work for. So the immune system is like, if you took away the vaccine and therapeutics from the flu, think about how many people a year die from the flu. Anywhere between 50 and 80,000 people in America die from the flu. Hospitalizations are probably around 1 million or 2, and the amount of people that get the flu is huge. Think about this. What would those numbers look like without therapeutics and a vaccine? I bet you they'd be pretty high, probably higher than this. The difference between these two, at least right now, is the spread. This seems to spread quicker than the flu, and how much of that is because of the vaccine? Like, if there wasn't a vaccine, would this spread just as fast, as would the flu spread just as fast? That's a possibility. But I think at the end of the day, we're going to find out as we dig through this and look through this, because we've stopped down our economy. We've got 41 million people who are unemployed at this moment in time. And I would say 60% of them or 70% will get back to their employment within the next, 30 to 90 days, somewhere in between. This has been a huge hit to the global economy as well as our own economy. I don't know if we do it the same way. I think a lot of people seem to think that if we had to do it all over again, that we would shut down and shelter in place for 90 days, everybody. I don't think that to be true. I think if we step back and we look at this thing, we might say, we know who this affects adversely. We know how it affects people adversely. We'd set up a much different way of going about protecting those people. And I think we'd allow the people under 65 who are in good health to go about their business. We'll see what it looks like. And I think in the next 60 to 90 days, we'll have a much better look about whether or not this is seasonal or endemic, where it means it's just here all the time, and how close we are getting to the therapeutic side of things. And as the antibody test becomes more regularly available to everybody, and it becomes much better than what has been available, we might look up and say, all right, lessons learned. Maybe next time when this thing, if it is seasonal, comes, that we can approach things in a much different way rather than saying we're stopping down everything, and that we can return to a life of going to the movies, going to restaurants, where we don't have to dress up like we're in a beekeeper outfit. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program. It's Blackout Tuesday. What's that mean? The music industry want you to chill. To relax, reflect. They're not going to release music today. You take a deeper look at stuff, find out how you can get involved and help. Volunteering. That's kind of cool. I think that's what they're aiming for. I don't know if that's what like that's kind of what I feel they're aiming for, but they're not releasing music. And Tuesday is the day normally that how they would say in the business, music drops. So they're not releasing music, and some are going the whole week without releasing music. And I'm like, do they release music anymore? I thought it just comes out overnight sometime, and there's no real plan. Like Beyonce's like, or Lady Gaga, hey, I released an album last night. Check it out. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the programs to Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It's going to take the work of a generation. But if this agenda will take time to complete, it should not wait for the first 100 days of my presidency to get started.
What's the agenda? I'm just curious. What's the agenda? What is your agenda? I see a lot of ads that are out there, and you're asking Republicans, hey, vote for me because this guy sucks. He's a horrible person. Look, Trump, he is what he is, right? He is a lightning rod for controversy. He's a crapster. He's always in your face. He's a fighter. And sometimes, you know what, fighting's good, and a lot of times it's bad. He does know his base, and he does at times throw out the dog whistle. And there's a lot of things that Trump does that I dislike. But I'm also an action person, and I look at the action. Like, I didn't like what he did yesterday. But when you look at the action side of things, it's cutting regulation in certain areas. Because I think we've overregulated. Because we're regulating at the federal level and at the state level to the point where in certain parts of this country, just trying to do business is insane. He's for lower taxes. I want lower taxes across the board. I think the rich should pay their fair share. And at the same time, I don't think we should demonize the rich. And when it comes to the thing I have said he will be remembered for at this point in time is the judges. So trying to get the Republicans to get on your side, you can say, I'm against who he is as a person, but the action side of it, he's been pretty damn conservative. So you're saying he's a jerk and he's an awful person and he's a fascist, as we all know, because that's where everybody goes. So just vote for me and you're going to what? The ideals that you want. I think if Joe Biden's president, I don't think he's going to ruin everything. I do worry about the future of both parties because I think if the future of both parties is completely, tone deaf to the exhausted majority in this country. And they're going to further extremes. Somewhere in the middle is people who have common sense leadership who I think would do this country a great service, but they're not drama. And we like drama as much as we like anything. So your agenda is what? Going against everything that Trump is about? But you're asking Republicans, hey, vote against your beliefs. You believe in life? Don't worry. I'm going to give you more choice. You believe in this? Don't worry. I'm going to make sure that I'm going to go against that, whatever that is. But it's only because this guy's awful. It's a tough thing. What's your agenda, Joe? I have a real question with Joe because I do think that on more than a few occasions he has shown signs of some real issues. And you'd be a fool not to say that. Take away the political side of it. If that was your father or grandfather, you'd say, I think he's got problems. If that was your grandmother, you'd be like, she's got some issues. I'm not talking about the politics of it all. And you could question that, and that would be okay. I mean, hell, since the Trump got into the presidency, people have questioned his sanity. It's okay to question Joe's issues. Not saying you're a bad human being, because I don't think Joe is a bad person. And I don't think if he took over the presidency that magically that the world's coming to an end. Just like we always say, Trump's destroying the world, and here it is now. And it's stop it. Remember that nuclear war? Everybody thought we were going to nuclear war. This is it. Trump's president. I'm still waiting for that. It's not going to happen. I would like to see what are you bringing, Joe? But you may grab those independents, those voters who I have a lot of friends who are independent. I'm very independent, right? I like, I'm an issue by issue basis kind of person. I don't look at everything on its face. I want to give both sides of it. I'm willing to hear, even if I believe something, I want to see what the other side of that coin looks like. So I have an understanding. And do I have everything? Because I realize I know nothing. The more that you peel the layers of stuff, the more you start to realize, which in some cases, it just reinforces. In other cases, your minds open up and you learn something. And if the worst case scenario is you learn something, that's awesome. But we don't live in that world. But I would like to know what your agenda is. What's your agenda, Joe? Because is it Obama 2.0? Is it more in line with what the more radical side of the party is? I have no idea what this looks like. I think he's got a shot. I do. I think he's got a real shot at winning this. But between now and November is a long time. I think we've seen. So since the beginning of the year, let's just talk about how long that is. Calendar flips over to 2020. Year starts out. Seems pretty damn good. We're rocking and rolling. Economy's rocking and rolling. Things are motoring through. Right? Feeling good. The usual chaos and craziness that comes with politics is there, but we've got all kinds of primaries and we've got life normal. We're going to the movies, sporting events, things are great. It's chaos. It's all. Kobe Bryant dies. Oh, it's horrible. And then we're hearing about this thing on the other side of the world that's starting to spread, but we're being told, don't worry about it. It's nothing big, but it's, they've locked down the certain areas and we're going on. Life's normal, economy time after time. It's like, oh, we're full employment and primary after primary. It's a battle. We got this young upstart and his name Pete Buttigieg. You guys remember Pete? You remember Pete Buttigieg and Tulsi Gabbard? Amy Klobuchar? Bernie, we know. There's Joe and Elizabeth, and then there was the Bloomberg experiment for about a minute. Tom Steyer. Then this thing arrives. It's no big deal. It's going to be gone by this. It's going to be gone by that. Then lo and behold, it becomes a pandemic. And overnight, things start to change. And within a couple weeks, states are on lockdown in some way, shape, or form. Then we flash forward. And we've had several months where unemployment went from 3.5 to like 17%. We saw 41 million Americans lose their jobs. And then we had this incident 8 days ago, this horrible incident. And now that seems to be pushed to the side. All the while this is going on, we have a presidential election. And I'd like to know, Joe, because you're the de facto person. What's your thing? What are you doing? You're going to run against everything that he stands for. If you think that both sides have a monopoly on good ideas and bad ideas, then you're absolutely living inside of a bubble. You are. You're living inside of a bubble. Both sides have good ideas and bad ideas. And at the end of the day, they could both have brilliant ideas, but the execution is so poor that it ends up being a crappy idea at the end of it. You ever seen a movie where the writing and the script is, you could tell it's stupid, but because the actors they have are so good, it passes as pretty decent? And then I've seen movies where the premise is awesome and everything else sucks. Well, that's where we are most of the time in politics. The premise is good, but the actors, shouldn't quit their day jobs. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Text the program as well. All of that going aside, I'd like to see some normalcy return to us, right? I want some normal way of life. I am missing sports. I'm watching the Bundesliga, and Spain returns, I believe, this weekend or next weekend, not too far away from the Premier League coming back. But what about here? We were in the midst of all of these, middle to end of the seasons in the NBA and the NHL. Baseball's getting ready to start. The NFL, we're still dangling out there because when this crashed in on us, we didn't have the NFL. It just finished. So what's that look like? Well, the NBA, I mean, they can they get it going? I don't know.
He's kept the players at the table the entire time, and that's really important because there's a lot of money at stake, and not only is there a lot of money now, he's got to make a deal with them where they feel comfortable going into this bubble for the season to continue, and then he's got to make another deal with them probably in September and October about next season when they won't have the same ticket revenue to maneuver here.
Brian Unenworth's talking about Adam Silver. And Silver's whole thing is, all right, here's the deal, guys. We're going to get you guys to Orlando, and we're going to finish this out. We're going to have a couple play-in games, so we're going to set it up so we're going to have some play-in games, and then we're going to have playoffs, and it's just going to be in a contained area in Orlando, the Disney World complex. We're going to get this done, and it may take a little bit longer, and instead of you starting the season, we're going to have to kick it in, and we'll start the season in what many people have been calling for years, was start the NBA season in December, Christmas. So can it come back? What does that even look like? I think that's a big thing. And can you make the deal happen?
His number one priority is making his owners happy, which in large part means making money. And he's done a lot of that for them over the last 6 years. His number two priority is to make the players feel like they have an ownership as much as they can, even though they'll never own stock in a team, to be able to sit there. And that means listening to them when they talk about mental health issues. That means supporting them when they want to use their platforms to talk about problems in society and societal change. This is not something that he has just done the last 3-4 days or last 5-6 weeks. He's done it for 15 years.
Yeah. And then they want their voices heard. They want their voices heard. So you're like, he's walking all kinds of fine lines. Got to make these guys happy over here, the owners, because all they care about is the green. And they want their teams to succeed because it's a notch in their gun belt of cool stuff that they have, because there's not many of them. And then the other side, they want to make sure, he's got to make sure that the players are happy. And the players want a louder voice in social issues and don't want to be seen as people who are punished for it. The irony of all this is remember how the NBA season started with the whole China incident with the NBA, and then players coming out and kind of jumping on China's bandwagon and talking about a lot of stuff. And I do find that to be a little ironic. When you talk about oppression, when you talk about a lot of things, and at the same time, you're worried about your wallet too. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Boomer, I'm not worried about my wallet because I'm a sellout. I said it. Just kidding. Look, I've tried a lot of these products, and if they suck, I'll tell you they suck. And if you have a problem with them, you just let me know. You're not going to have a problem with Boomer Naturals face covers. Face coverings, I read yesterday, great piece about they're here to stay. And I think in some ways they are. They're going to become more part of what we do. And I think during flu season even, they're not going anywhere. People are realizing, hey, you wash your hands and you cover your face, you're going to cut down a lot of this stuff. Boomer Naturals has 30-day, 30-use face coverings. Very inexpensive. Less than 30 cents a day. 3 layers, high quality, hypoallergenic, 65% cotton, 35% polyester. It's blended material treated with nanosilver technology, and it stays on the cloth for 30 days, as well as antiviral protection and antibacterial protection. 92% effective. And all you have to do is when you're done wearing them, you wash it in warm water with some soap, you let it air dry, and away you go. And the beauty besides all of that is they've got children's sizes and adult sizes, so it's not one of those things where you get a mask and it pulls your ears forward because it doesn't fit, or you give a mask to a kid and it's ginormous and it doesn't fit. Nope. Different sizes, different colors. The fits are amazing. Boomer Naturals done it again. Use code CHAD20. You save 20% right there, plus free shipping on all orders over $50. That's code CHAD20, boomernaturals.com. Take your family's health into your own hands and order your 30-day use face coverings now at boomernaturals.com. Boomernaturals.com, code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Pooey.
Pooey, pooey, and double pooey.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Pooey to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
That's what the presidency is. The duty to care. To care for all of us. Not just those who vote for us, but all of us. Not just our donors, but all of us.
Joe Biden, that's not what the presidency is. The presidency is being a competent individual and trying to do the best you possibly can for the American people. I really don't care whether or not you care for me. I don't. I'll take competence and getting stuff done over uber empathy. I want my president to empathize and to see situations, but I don't want the president to allow emotions to rule the day. And here's the thing, Joe, like it or not, 50% of the country is going to have a disdain for the other person and think that the other person, we always say, I'm here to tell the people that those of you who didn't vote for me, I'm going to do all I can. No, it's not the way it is anymore because you're not going to win them over. You're not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. If Joe wins in November, Republicans are going to go, well, I'll see what Joe's going to do. Right? Let's get behind Joe. Now, they may be happy that some of the chaos is gone, but they're not going to be like, oh, wow, it's great. And let's give him a chance. I'll give him a chance. If Trump wins again in November, I'll give him a chance, too. Another 4 years. Hopefully, you'll stop some of the chaos. And the stuff that you did that was good, you do more of that. And the stuff that you did that was a pain in the ass and caused headaches for everybody, you do less of that. But do you think that if he wins in November, that magically, even if Trump comes out and says it, well, I don't believe him. And the Republicans don't believe what the other side says. Welcome to the world of modern politics. It's ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. I just sit there and go, ugh, how do we do it? But we've been like this for a long time, people. I always remind everybody, this is the worst it's ever been. No, there was a time in the 1800s, latter part, we had issues, and something happened there. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Do something for me today. A, be nice. Or as they said in Roadhouse, until it's time not to be nice. But be nice. And B, start a conversation with somebody. Just chat. Somebody you don't know or whatever. Just talk to people. Have a wonderful day. I'm going to have a taco. Do it again tomorrow. Night-night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.